if other agents are telling them that the market's flat at the higher end, well, it isn't, is it? If the price is right, there's buyers there. So your social proof on your social media is important for lots of reasons. One of those reasons is to show your existing clients who haven't sold that you are selling stuff at that level. So it's not you're not the problem. It's the price normally.
100%.
So that my list, JK, all tied in to the bottom two, which are upfront fees and 2%.
Hello and welcome to the Complete Agent Podcast, where we get together each week to talk all things estate agency. My name is James Kendall, and I'm not joined by David Warburton this week. I'm only joined by my industry colleague and good friend, Ian Storey. How are you, mate?
Very well, thank you, mate. Very well indeed. Currently in a windy and wet North Wales, but all is good.
You must be feeling the pressure of not having a holiday for a week. So have you gone away again?
Yeah, we've not been away for 5 weeks, so felt like we needed to come away. Although, as I was saying to you before we came on, the reason I justify having a lot of holidays is because I work when I need to on holiday. We've negged 2 sales while I've been away. I think I've also listed 2. Definitely 1. And I'm in touch with clients all the time, so as far as the client's concerned, they're still getting the level of service. But I get to spend some time with the kids, and I think while the kids are this age, it's important to do that. So it's all good. But yeah, just a quick week in Abersock. The sun was shining yesterday, so we were on the beach. Today is windy and wet. So, the challenges of going on holiday in
That's
the
how
UK.
I imagine Wales to be honest. I don't imagine Wales to be any other way.
Well, Abersock, it's a bit of a cliche, but they do say it's a microclimate because it's out on the peninsula bit, the very top of northwest Wales. So it does get good weather more than a lot of other areas of Wales do. So, but anyway, yeah, all good, mate. All good, really. Busy, in terms of the business, things are busy.
Yeah, how's your week been? We normally lead in with that, don't we? All falls apart without
good.
Dave.
Yeah, I wrote down a few bits and pieces before we came on. So we definitely 3 sales agreed in the last week at 660, 880 and 950. So all in the gold dust zone. 2 of those are Phil's. One of them was mine. And one of them, actually, the 950 is a small development. We don't really do new builds, but I took a couple on because they were struggling to sell them. And we got them on at good money. They look mint. 1 sold, 950. We've got another one to sell. And I had a call yesterday from someone who viewed one. We've got 2.15. They viewed it before the weekend at 2.15, and he called me yesterday saying he wants to offer. So he hasn't offered yet, but I think he's going to. So that would be an absolute brilliant result. And then a couple of good listings so far, yeah. One at 1.5, one at 975. I know Phil's got a couple of bits bubbling away as well. The office is extremely busy. The guys are all stretched and they're all doing very well. But, if you're not busy in May, something's wrong, isn't it? How about you?
Well, having said that, we haven't had the busiest month. So what has been really interesting is that obviously, the months prior, we had an incredible April, an incredible March, in terms of sales agreed. Obviously, I think the majority of the industry had an incredible completion month for March. And if you didn't, again, something is definitely wrong there. But we may. But I think the thing is, what was wrong, and we know what was wrong, is that we had so much signed up to come onto the market, and we just couldn't get it on quick enough. And we'd had a few wet and rainy days here as well, so we had to move stuff around. And I just think having nearly the best part of £250,000 in the end in photography is not helpful for anyone really. Because whilst it's being photographed and prepared, we can't. Yes, we do the odd bit off market, but we can't do much with it while it's not being marketed. So, a few bits have come on. We tied up one this week at just over 1.25. That was on the market for a couple of weeks. We had, what else do we have? We've got one, we launched another one at 1.25. We've got 4 viewings on this weekend. So that seems fairly positive so far. A couple of those have got some nice houses to sell as well. Which is good. So, you know, if the people that are proceedable don't buy it, then there's some really good local house to sell opportunities off the back of that as well. One thing that is really nice, you know, the average fee as a business has increased in the last 12 months. And it's much more at a level where I want it to be. My average fee is great, but the actual average fee as a business across the business has improved significantly. I mean, you know, it's like 5x'd where we were probably 7 years ago, which is ludicrous, really. But it's all down to
staggering.
You know what we're going to talk about today: consistency. And I think, you know, it's a boring word that's used in the industry a lot, but it is what it is. You know, like anything in life, if you want to build muscle, if you want to lose weight, it's consistency, you know. But also, if you want to build a business, it's consistency. And, you know, you've got to be able to have a plan and stick to it, and have a strategy and stick to it. Because, you know, where I was 7 years ago, I've said this on the pod before, you know, our main sort of source of new homes and leads, if you want to call it that, was referral and recommendation. And, you know, referral and recommendation isn't a lead strategy, because, you know, you're constantly waiting for someone to refer you or recommend you. But, you know, how many times did you actually ask people to be referred or recommended? You know, so it's not a plausible strategy. But yeah, so we're just gonna dive into that and talk through. You know, I think possibly, you know, a little bit of back to basics as well, because I think that's where a lot of people fall down. And just consistently doing the basics well.
Yeah, indeed. Yeah. We talked about it a lot on our mini-series at the start of the podcast earlier last year. But I think it does need a refresh. You know, we've spoken to various people in the industry. And I think the main issue for a lot of them, and really a lot of people in life and a lot of businesses outside of estate agency, is consistency. It really all starts with how you look. So there's lots of different things that go into consistency. I'll read you through the list and then we can chat them through. So I've written how you look. Are you sending letters to higher end homes? We send 7,500. Your social media, your Twilight, your videos, your presenter-led videos, should I say, your boards, your website, quality of your photographs, the styling, the service you give your clients, your weekly client updates, upfront fees, and then at the bottom of the list, 2%. And if you are consistent across all of that, as good as you possibly can be all the time, then it does lead to a really good business and being able to charge good fees and people are happy to pay them. So yeah, how do you look is number one on the list, JK. So, you know, we say this to members, don't we? And we say it to other people in the industry. If someone gets your letter and they go to your website, how do you look? Do you look like someone that's going to sell their 900, 1.2, 1.8 million pound house? Do you feel like the right kind of agent for them? Is all your marketing consistent across all the houses you sell? Does everything look really good? Is a blunt way to say it. And if it doesn't, then that's where you need to start. How do you look is so important, and you need to be consistent across everything with regards to your brand. You know, I get people I go and see now, and they actually openly say, we like your brand. You know, we feel like we should be part of your brand. And it's interesting that people they do actually say those words to me. And these people are intelligent, you know, high-end professional or entrepreneurial people. And, you know, the brand is everything. How you look.
But if you think about it in terms of, like, even if you bring it back to cars though, mate, you know, if, you know, I know you love your Range Rover, but, you know, you could buy a Kia EV9 that's got the same sort of seats, but you drive a Range Rover because of how it makes you feel and that brand association. You know, if you would, you know, and there's nothing wrong with Kias, by the way, but it hasn't got the same. I mean, let's not go down the rabbit hole of me and Range Rover, but the way that a car makes you feel, you know, when you get into it, and the association you build with, you know, driving a a premium car, it's how you feel and how you want to associate, and it's also how other people in that you consider yourselves to be similar to, what they do. You know, do they drive the same sort of cars? Do they eat at the same sort of places? You know, it's less about what the function is, and it's sometimes more often how it makes you feel. You know, if you were, I don't know, looking at purple bricks, for example, purple bricks are a bit bish bash bosh, or you know, maybe one of the other. There's some like spring bold or whatever they're called houses where, you know, the owners take pictures on their flip phones from 1990. You know, do you want your house to look like your 1-year-old's pasta that's fallen on the floor, or do you want it to look proper? You know, and that's the difference. It's that brand association. So yeah, how do you look? Yeah, but also how are they going to look as well? I think that's part of it. You know, as a seller,
definitely.
That's a big part of it. You know, the people that sell in the premium markets are, you know, golf club members, you know, and, you know, they call it keeping up with the Joneses, don't they? But, you know, there's a lot of people out there that would want to see a Stories or a James Kendall board outside their house, you know, rather than the cheap brand, because they, you know, they don't want that to be the conversation down the golf club. You know, oh, well, I see they put their house up with Springboard, and, you know, the photos don't look very good, do they? And they got money.
It's massively true. Especially at the higher end, you know, people mixing these circles, you know, it's how they look is very important to them. And you're quite right when you say how you look. I refer to you as an estate agent, but it's also how the client thinks they look to people they know.
Exactly.
So it's vital. So I think what ties into that as well then is being selective with what you sell. So most agents aren't selective with what they sell. You know, I would say every agent around us, no other agent is selective with what they sell. They all sell everything they can get their hands on. Yeah. And they all sell, you know, lower end. I always say ex-council house. You know, I grew up in a working class area. Like, I'm no way am I bumming the silver spoon in my mouth. But it's true, isn't it? The ex-council house has not been modernised. The flat above the chippy, as you always say. You know, they do still list those. And the more you list of that sort of property, the more people associate you with it. And if you can get in there like we've done, and like you do, and like Dave does, and really be selective with what you sell, it really you can really grow an amazing brand that people want to associate with. So I'll move on, JK. So how you look is vital. The letters, I mean, you know, consistency in sending letters. I wish I'd been sending letters from the start of my business. I've only been sending them for about is it 4 years, 3.5, 4 years? So
longer than that now. I think
it's 7,500
now.
Okay, yeah. We now send 7,500 every quarter, handwritten envelopes. The team write the envelopes. They try and do 20 a day in the morning, first thing, so it's out the way.
Yeah.
And you know, they're brilliant, really, and that allows us as a company to be consistent with sending out those letters every quarter. So you've got to be consistent with something different with your marketing, and handwritten envelope letters are brilliant, and most people will never be consistent enough, and that's how you can stand out. The content of those, of course, needs writing in a clever way so that it appeals to people. And of course, anyone new listening to this, we can definitely help with that. But the letters, being consistent with the letters is very important. And then that ties back into how you look, because they'll get the letter, they'll go straight on your website. How do you look? And of course, moving on from that, JK, and I'll let you comment in a second, is social. So I think those three come together really in a package, because it's your marketing of your business, isn't it? It's your website, your socials, the letters you're sending out, and how you look. So social media is also vital. Don't just post properties. Post interesting things about your local area as well. Tag in local businesses. Are you doing local community interviews? We do less of those now. We're so busy, but we did loads earlier on, and it really got us known. So I think how you look on your socials is important as well. I know you guys are good at that.
Yeah, I mean, we've really tried to up our game on socials, to be honest, in terms of looking at what works. And, you know, there's a saying, isn't there? Success leaves clues. And you look at, you know, what other people are doing really well. And I think now, you know, we're at a really good place now where, you know, sometimes some social media reels land better than others, but we're getting a lot better on Instagram. You know, we're heading for nearly 3,000 followers now, and it's constantly growing. But what is important, and what we are seeing on the likes of Instagram, is not only are we growing in followers, but the actual views that we're managing to get from using this new strategy. unpaid views as well. Previously to hit 10, 20, 30,000 views, we'd have to pay for like a boosted campaign. Whereas now, using this new technique that we're using, I'm just looking on our grid now. The most recent top one is 23,000, followed by another one at 15,000, another one at 2.5. A bit further down, 12,800, 6,700. This is all, and this is just on Instagram. But then, on Facebook, similarly as well. The thing is, Facebook, you can cheat, and I think we've gone on this journey before with how to do this on social media. And I certainly did a talk at our last mastermind in Manchester about how to leverage social media and almost how you can cheat your way to views on Facebook. And I'm just looking at Facebook now. The same video on Instagram that got 12,000 has got 25,000 on Facebook. Others at 18,000. It's just being able to have that strategy in place and get it in front of the right people is super important. But yeah, people are going to check you out. If it's not your website, it's your social media. How do you look? How do your clients' properties look? And it all kind of folds into one. And the consistency with the letters is so important. I mean, for us, it's been transformational. Shout out to David Lindley. We jumped on a video call the other day, and he was just showing me some of the data he has access to as well. I think it's similar to Gatesy. And just showing the growth that we've had in the upper end of the market, just for our core patch, excluding where our area partners work. And we've grown in that 750 plus market locally 50% in the last 12 months. And
amazing.
That's only going to get stronger and stronger by just doing those consistent things. The thing is, I went on the pod, I think must be 18 months ago now, where we were going through a little bit of a patch where we were spending a lot of money out and not a lot of money was coming in. And you know how expensive it is, for us, the way we send the letters out, sometimes it can cost up to £1.55 per letter.
Yeah.
And if we're sending 10,000 out per quarter, that's 15 grand you've got to commit to at within 1 week, basically, to get them out. But when you look at what actually comes back out of it, I mean, we sold our biggest ever house off, 42 grand in fees, plus up, actually more than that, 45 grand fees, off the back of one of the letters, and whilst that letter's done its job and it's got you through the door, there's 9,999 on other tables, fridges, desktops that are doing the work for you in the background. And when the time comes for them to sell, they'll pick the letter up, and it's the classic bulldog clip, isn't it? We talk about it all the time. Comes out, I've been getting your letters for the last 5 years. Excellent. I do enjoy your market updates. They're excellent. The next thing you know, bosh, you're through the door, and you move forward.
Yeah, just touching on letters as well, we've recently run a buy a letter campaign. We don't really need any more. Well, we don't need any more valuations. Sometimes I get these social media gurus asking me how many more valuations I need, and I reply and say, do you know what, mate, you've called the wrong agent, because I don't need any more valuations. But nevertheless, Aidan, being Aidan, is just brilliant and did it without me even asking him. Ran a buy a letter campaign through Spectre, through Street Insights, or whatever they call it now, and I think we've had 4 vals booked requested. One of them's 2.5 mil, all higher end, all over a mil. Amazing, absolutely amazing buy letters. So if you're struggling for vals, send buyer letters, because it works superbly. This particular property at 2.5 million, I know it, and he must get the nom. And he's never called at all off the nom. But the buyer letter, he's called.
And we can give you a buyer letter for free as well. If you send us a DM, if it's something that you're interested in, we can send you a buyer letter. One of the ones that we've used successfully in the past for free. So
definitely do that.
DM. We're happy to share it.
I think that's a very good thing to mention, JK. So letters consistency. We don't send via letters consistently because we don't need to. But if I was an agent who was struggling for valuations, I'd be sending them every month, no question. Then moving on, JK, the consistency of your marketing of the properties that you're selling. Yeah. So you need to be working with a good photographer that will do you a twilight even in June when it's 10 p.m. on every single listing. I see some agents copying us increasingly more now, and they do the odd twy on a nice house, but not on the lower end stuff that they sell. So the consistency's gone there. So you need to be doing a twilight on everything, but that's a really good twilight where the image is styled, is the parasol up outside, cushions out, fire pit lit, cars off the drive, etc.
Yeah.
Video, presenter-led video on every single house. Every single house, without question, a presenter-led video with you in front of the camera talking to people, because it's as much about selling you as it is about selling the house. Boards, are you putting your board up? Are you good at convincing a seller to have a board when they don't want one? We all know a lot of people don't want boards, and at the start we will always, if they don't want one, we'll always go along with that at the start, but then as we're getting nearer to launch, we'll try and talk them into it because they're so prominent, they really should have one. So are you good at putting multiple boards up where you can without getting in trouble? Quality of photographs and then styling of images. Is every home styled? Have you got someone going in to do that, which is a really good service add to the client? And the quality of images, and are you doing that fanatically? Like, I will look at an image and I'll send it off to be digitally enhanced if a cushion's not level, or if there's something in shot that, like, are you fanatical about everything that's going out? Because that is all ties back in to consistency. So consistency across the quality of marketing was my middle section of this pod, JK, really. And are you doing that on every single listing?
Yeah, you need to. I mean, you can't do some for some and some for another. Especially more so for the high end more than anything else. You can't go out and show somebody, this is the brochure we're going to do, this is the marketing we're going to do, this is this is that, and then not do it. It's as simple as that. There are one thing I would say about twice sometimes is there are some houses that don't work with twilights, and they can look like a haunted house.
I mean, that would be a very rare exception, wouldn't it?
Yeah, but I mean, in the main, stop finding excuses not to, and make sure you just do it. I mean, we just literally went to one yesterday, and the difference having an in-house stylist makes is incredible. Rather than us doing it ourselves, having a dedicated in-house stylist now, the client experience is totally different, and it lifts everything up. It's, even from, making our photographer's life easier so they can come in, do the shoot, video, do the shoot, job done, and everything. The client experience is good because it's something that, especially the ones we've had that have been on the market with someone else, and we book the stylist appointment as soon as it's instructed. They get a call from Sandra, I'm coming round, She goes round, makes the recommendations, leaves them with the staging and styling document and any recommendations, in addition to what is standard out the back. And then on the day of the shoot, gets there an hour before the photographer, making sure everything's there, ready to go. He can come in, do what he needs to do. We can come in, shoot our video. We're there for, an hour and a half, 2 hours maybe. Because sometimes, I do think it's important being there with the photographer to make sure that they capture the angles that, you want them to capture. Because although they're very good, sometimes, although they're very good, they're not salespeople and they're not necessarily marketers. So sometimes...
the last thing you want to do is let a photographer shoot a house without you having gone in first.
Yeah,
because that's what most agents do, use a pro photographer these days, don't they? Because you need to, and it's a good way to outsource. Yeah. But the amount I see where they've used a photographer and they've not styled the room, I mean, I would say most listings are that way.
There's a lot of agents near me that use the same company, and they just literally they're in and out in half an hour.
Yeah, no. So you've got to make sure that is a really good way. I mean, early on, when we started the company, we did always do presenter-led videos, but we didn't do twilights, we didn't do brochures, we did the things we've added on since, but we were always consistent with the styling and how it looked. I've been like that for 20 years, of how I want every room to look perfect. And you could argue that you could use a slightly poorer photographer, but the room is styled amazingly. That's more important than actually the quality of the image, because that's people's first impression of the room. So obviously, if you can combine a really good photographer with styling, then that's amazing. But yeah,
that's something that we've got a lot better at, to be honest, mate. And I think that's a big thing with people at the upper end of the market is attention to detail. Detail-orientated people generally have better homes. The people that are a bit bish bash bosh are the people that have the threadbare carpets, and you know, they don't care. You know, they'll just use an agent. Whereas the people that, you know, that like the details are much more likely to gravitate towards you. You know, and we've got better at it. I mean, I always thought I was pretty good, but I think I'm getting better and worse. What I mean, in my old age, my OCD is getting worse in my older age. But also, I think it's better, you know, all round, because I look at a photo now and I said, Sandra, we're putting together a brand standards official document for styling. So, you know, what can go on, what can't go on. You know, what does this room look like? You know. For example, in the kitchen, you know, there can't be things on top of the units, you know, wires. You know, we went around a house the other day, and it's a gorgeous house, really gorgeous house, the most amazing view. But we went round and we're like, right, that's got to go. Photos have got to go. This has got to go. That's got to go. That phone over there's got to go. All these cables have got to go away. Like, to the point where his TV, the Sky, everything's all unplugged. All the plugs are going to go away in the cupboard.
Yeah,
should be the boxes there.
Yeah, hate wires, hate TVs generally, really. And unless they're on a wall and they look really cool, hate TVs in a room. Always take TVs out.
Well, the thing is, it just distracts.
It's an ugly black box. Yeah, it's just an ugly black box in the corner of a room, isn't it? You know, so on the whole, take TVs out. Just make sure you're straight with the client. We're always unplugging stuff. I would always get the perfect image and apologise to the client afterwards.
Yeah.
The other way around. No question about that. So that is very, very important. And I think some people worry sometimes about styling. Like, I've no degree in home styling or interior design, neither's Vicky, but we've just got attention to detail and we care. And for me, in the early days, it was really just about making it tidy, removing some of the shit and making it tidy. Was basically what I did.
Yeah.
Since then, we've added things in. We've got a styling van. We've got a kit. We've improved it. But if you're starting out or you don't really do styling at the minute, it's really just about making it super tidy and taking some of the shit out so it doesn't look too cluttered.
Yeah, and like kids' toys in rooms and stuff like that.
Kids' toys, yeah, big
make
plastic
the beds.
Toys. Yeah, make the beds. Yeah, oh my God. I mean, yeah, these things should be obvious to people, shouldn't they? But yeah, all those things.
Probably it could be another good pod, actually, just while we're talking about it. You know, it could be another pod maybe to get, you know, Vicky and Sandra pod or something one day and just talk through it.
Yeah, I mean, if you get Sandra and Vicky on, Jesus, it'll be a 4-hour pod.
We'll all walk away the best of friends. What's next on your list?
Well, next on my list is service and client updates.
Yeah.
So one thing that we implemented last year was a Monday update every week to our client. So every property that's not sold yet, we update the client every Monday.
Yeah.
I always wanted it to be every week, but before we put it into the plan, it was always a bit wishy-washy. And, we've all got some clients who are a bit awkward, haven't we? Or some clients who you don't really want to update them because you've nothing to tell them. And it gets to a Friday afternoon and you're like, I really don't want to. So I thought I'm going to write it in the plan that it's every Monday. And then it holds me and Phil accountable. So that's what we did. We wrote it in the plan. And basically, we update every client every Monday. The only exception is if, say, you've got viewings on a Sunday or on a Monday, and you say to the client, look, I'm actually going to update you on Tuesday, John, because we're not going to have the feedback until then. But generally speaking, it's every Monday. Now, sometimes it's just a WhatsApp voice note. Sometimes it's just a WhatsApp video message. Sometimes it's a full-on Loom video where we're looking at the local market around them and what's happened and competitor properties and the interest on Rightmove. And the right sort of client absolutely loves that. And as long as you can just show them every week that you're doing something or you're doing as much as you can to sell it, generally you will not lose them to other agents. We hardly lose any. I mean, I can't think of the last house we lost to another agent, maybe 18 months ago, something like that. And it's because of the weekly service and the client feeling like we are doing all we can.
And that's half the battle sometimes, is you have to just tell people what you're doing, even if it's not a lot in terms of, there's not a lot you can do. Well, we're making sure it's out there in the universe. We've rotated photos around. We've given it to clients. But then also, you've got to have that relationship with people early on to let them know, what could happen. Because if the marketing's on point, you need to be able to have that relationship with them where you can change the price.
Yeah,
because
exactly. Sorry.
No, go on.
I was just going to say that those regular updates and telling them everything you possibly can make it easier to get the price change when it's needed. If you don't update them for 4 weeks and then tell them they need a price change, you piss them off and they'll go elsewhere.
But and it's probably another pod. But I mean, I was actually chatting to Dave the other day on the phone, and we were just saying about how clients and even sometimes agents can go, well, it's definitely not the price. It's just the market, and it isn't. If it's marketed properly and priced right, it will sell. Admittedly, some homes are more niche than others, but if you've got a home, for example, that's 10,000 square feet with a really small garden, and it's let's say it's on at 3 million, and nobody's coming to view it, then you have to work backwards, and say to the client, well, if the house was £1, would someone buy it? Well, yeah, of course they would. But if it was 500 grand, would someone buy it? Well, yeah, of course they would. And then you get to the point where you're like, well, is it 2 million, 2.5 million, 2 points, whatever that number may be, wherever it is in the market. Sometimes you have to work back and go, right, okay, well, definitely think somebody would buy it for that. And you'll then see it becomes clear that it's not about it being niche and a hard market. It's about it being priced right, and you can't outperform the market unless you've got a showstopper of a home that is a one-off, has idyllic views, or is in a one-off position, for example, and is done to the nines. Then rarely you're going to outperform the market.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it all comes back to price. Always comes back to the 3 Ps. So me and Phil always say in the early on stage, if it's not gone as well as we wanted it to, the marketing campaign, we say to each other or to the team, well, I've just done a no news call with John, because that's what it is really. Sometimes it's a no news call, and then we also judge when we're going to start talking about the 3 Ps. Yeah. So we'll set them up for a price change a month out, maybe sometimes even 2 months out from when we're going to actually try and push them to change the price. Yeah. But we're just conditioning them and educating them that eventually, if it doesn't go, it will be the price with us. It will never be the marketing. Yeah. So those updates every week are absolutely vital. And I just nudge people gently in the right direction. Sometimes I'll just send a message to say, or I'll ring them if I need to ring them, obviously, just to say, I just wanted to reassure you really, John, that I've been through this a long time, a lot in 25 years. I've been selling houses 25 years and I've been through this exact situation a lot. You are not alone. Sometimes a house goes on and it just doesn't get the interest. It doesn't mean we're not going to get a good result. It just means it's taking longer than we want. And it just means we don't know how much we're going to get, and we don't know exactly when it's going to sell. But I just wanted to reassure you that I've been through this a lot with other clients and I've got them to where they want to be eventually. And it's just reassuring them. And it's so easy to do these days. If you're not ringing them to do it, if you can do it on WhatsApp, it is so easy. It's so easy to do. You're just reassuring them. And a lot of people, especially a lot of clients at a higher end, they don't have time for telephone calls. They don't want telephone calls. They love doing stuff on message because it's quick. I've got a guy at the minute who I'm going to see on Saturday. His house is 1.8. And he's done it all on message. He's got some high-level government job. He can't tell me what it is, so I don't know what he does, but it's high level, and he just loves texting. He loves messaging because it's so easy for him. So there's no excuse. There's no excuse to not have that service to your clients, and that will then stop them leaving. But of course, what that also ties into is the quality of all your marketing. Is that on point? Other stuff you're selling. So we've just sold one at 3.5, as you know. We actually got over 3.5 for it. But by doing that, and by selling another one that we've sold recently at 2.625, you're showing clients that you are selling stuff at the higher end. So if other agents are telling them that the market's flat at the higher end, well, it isn't, is it? If the price is right, there's buyers there. So your social proof on your social media is important for lots of reasons. One of those reasons is to show your existing clients who haven't sold that you are selling stuff at that level. So it's not you're not the problem. It's the price normally.
100%.
So that my list, JK, all tied in to the bottom two, which are upfront fees and 2%.
Yeah.
It all feeds into that.
Yeah, and you can get upfront, and we were having this conversation earlier, weren't we, about upfront fees with the people, and you know, if your cash flow is an issue, upfront fees can solve that for you. You know, and there's different ways that you can sell it if you're not immediately confident in getting 500, a grand, or whatever it is up front. You can give it back at the end. Start with something. If you list 10 houses in a month and you charge £500 plus VAT to all of them, that's £5,000 immediately available in your bank.
Yeah, indeed. Yeah, I mean, we use Stripe to process our payments. I believe that Street are bringing something in where you'll be able to do it on Apple Pay through Street, which will be amazing. But currently we use Stripe, so we do pay like 1.5% or something to Stripe. But it's just so easy for the clients. So I'm looking at our Stripe account now on my phone on the app, which is a brilliant app, by the way. And so far in May, so it's basically the end of May, we've done $11,500 in upfront marketing fees. So, wow. I mean, that's amazing, isn't it? Upfront, 11.5. So that's my office cost paid, paid, and a member of the probably two members of the team paid as well.
There you go.
In May, and I've not had to sell a house.
And do you want to just close off with the 2%?
Yeah, so all of that leads into 2%. Although there's a bigger piece which Michelle, who is a mentoring coach, is going to do a training piece for our members at our next mastermind, which of course is mindset. It's all very well doing amazing marketing, it's all very well doing all these things, but if you've not got the mindset to think that you're worth 2%, you're probably not going to get 2%. You do need to believe it yourself, and you've got to be confident with it. And all those
things feed into it, don't they?
All those things feed into it, yeah. But we as you know, as a bang on about, we quote 2% on every listing that we go to, whether it's 3.5 million or 400,000. Now, look, we all negotiate sometimes. We're salespeople, aren't we? But we wouldn't negotiate for anything under 1 million, certainly, unless it was like multiple properties in a new build estate or something like that. But we outwardly quote 2%. I think our average fee is 1.93, 1.92, something like that.
Nice.
But you've got to do all those things all the time, and you've got to believe it. And I know you're the same as me, JK. I go into every listing thinking, this is mine. I've got this. So all those things feed into it. Yeah,
perfect. Well, that seems like a good place to leave it. And all right. We'll see you all next week.
See you all next week. Have a good week, everyone.